Welcome to Education 101 with your host, Erik Wolfrum. Education 101 is about the amazing education community we have in the greater Spokane area. We highlight the outstanding programs, teachers, supporters, and opportunities of the education community in the Spokane region. Education 101 is brought to you in part by STCU. Here's Erik.
And welcome to Education 101. I'm your host, Erik Wolfrum. Excited about the show today because we're going to be talking about Spokane Community College. Yay. I've got Abby Monta here and also Emily Gwynn, and we're going to be talking a little bit about Spokane Community College and some of the things that you guys have. Because Abby, you are the recruitment manager.
So I do outreach and recruiting, correct.
Okay, excellent. And Emily, you deal with dual credit, so some of the running start and those types of things as well.
Exactly.
So,
yep.
Perfect. So ties right back into some of the K-12 stuff, which is my world with my job. So thank you guys for being on the show today, and I'm excited to have a conversation with you.
Yeah, we're excited to be here. Thank you.
Good. So let's start. SCC, Spokane Community College, which is what you guys are stationed out of, if you will. Let's talk about community colleges of Spokane as a whole first, kind of give some context. So I don't know which one of you guys want to kind of talk a little bit about, CCS, as I'm sure we'll call it multiple times, and where SCC and SFCC fit in and all those kinds of things.
Yeah, so again, like you were saying, for context, the broader district, or what it's housed under, is CCS, and that's Community Colleges of Spokane.
Right.
You can kind of think of that as that's the house. Now, within that house, there's different rooms. The two main campuses, of course, are where we're at, SCC, Spokane Community College, and that is the one over towards the valley, Mission and Green.
Right,
so
right.
Yep. And then if you're crazy and you run Bloomsday, God bless you, you go right by SFCC, which is the Spokane Falls Community College. And then in addition to that, we have half dozen of our IEL institutes for extended learning. So Pullman, Ione, Newport.
Yeah, absolutely. So all around, I would say this region, but I know it extends beyond that as well.
Correct.
So very cool. So okay, so recruitment, you guys are talking recruitment and then also running start and like college in the classroom type stuff. So let's start with, I think, the dual credit piece.
Sure.
Talk to me a little bit about first thing, what is the whole idea of dual crediting? And then what you guys are doing and what you have to offer.
You bet. Yeah, so dual credit can come in many different umbrellas. And so couple different ways that students can earn college credit while in the high school is what that dual credit piece means. And so while some students might take advanced placement courses at the high school, that's one way if students then test high enough on those advanced placement tests, they can potentially transcribe those test scores to credits at the particular college that they want to attend. So that's one route. What we provide at SFCC and SCC are two other options for college credit for high school students that are wanting to get college credit. So Running Start is the program where students would come to our campus, come onto our campuses, or access us online and take our courses and earn college credit. And so high school juniors and seniors are eligible to earn potentially up to 15 credits a quarter. And so they can be full-time students on our campuses working towards, again, some students want to just dabble in a little bit, take a few college classes just to see if they're ready and see how it feels. But then we also have full-time Running Start students who spend 2 full years, theoretically being freshmen and sophomores, on our campuses earning their AA degrees so that they're ready to transfer to a 4-year.
And again, so I'm thinking through that, and again, I've got an 8th grader, so we're already starting to talk about some of these options with him. But thinking through, from my administrator side, thinking about credits. So if my son is freshman and sophomore, he's got his high school credits there, and then he does Running Start, he's getting SCC credits there.
That's right.
Those credits count towards graduation. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And that's that dual crediting type
That's the
piece.
dual credit,
Okay.
yeah. And so we work really closely with the high schools and the students that are on our campus even if they're full-time, they still continue to check back in with their high school. They make sure that the courses they're taking are matching the high school Washington State graduation requirements.
Perfect.
So if they take a history course with us, it gets transcribed into a college transcript as a history course, but then it also meets the history requirement for the high school as well. So they get that kind of double whammy as far as grades. So pluses and minuses too, depending upon the grade.
I'm sure there is. Yeah, absolutely.
And so that's the college, or that's the Running Start piece that we provide. And then we also offer college and the high school programs for schools that want to perhaps offer a college level course on their campus that the student then can take at their own high school and earn college credit. And so depending upon your school, there's lots of different programs that are already in place. And classes that are available for students to take. So. And
essentially with those, that is one of the home high school teachers teaching a college course. Is that correct?
Yeah, and then they work actually with our faculty as well, and they have a little bit of a mentorship model where our faculty oversee that class and ensure that the course is meeting the same requirements as if it were to be taught on our campus. So.
I would imagine they'd have to do some of those things. So there's a lot of options out there. I mean, at least 2 options with you guys. And I'm sure SFCC has options as well.
Yes, provide the same options of Running Start and also college and the high school. And again, I think all of the options goes back to that, the research that's starting to come out showing that students who even take a few college credits while in high school are more likely to come to a college afterwards and complete a degree.
Right.
So whether it's a 2-year degree like you might get on our campus at SCC or even a 4-year bachelor's degree, sometimes just dipping their toes in and just even getting a few credits helps with that transition, gives them the confidence that they've got a few credits already, and even can make it more affordable once they get to a 4-year.
Absolutely. You know, and I think that's an important message that needs to be put out there. And I mean, I would imagine that's part of your job of trying to get that message out that, you know, here's some of the things, and it's proven that if you take a little bit, then you're going to be more successful.
Yeah, and I think, you know, Emily said you have options, and I think that's so powerful because when you have options, you feel empowered. And when you feel empowered, you're in a much better position to make decisions that are going to be best for you and your life. Right. So as far as looking at, what are my options? And let's explore these. And, you know, what route is this going to take me down? What's my ultimate goal? What are the different ways that I can get there? And being, you know, someone that's been in higher ed and worked in education for many years, I can say with great pride that I'm so honored to represent the community colleges. Sometimes I'll even play games with, you know, high school students where I'm like, all right, name a profession or a career, and I'll show you how I'm 99% sure that I can give you the pathway to start at the community colleges and end up at that career because, exactly as she said, there are so many options.
Right. Yeah, and I really do think that. So you know, I started at the community college as well.
Yeah,
so
me too.
hey, you know, and I know Tim back there did as well. So you know, it's a very viable option. You know, and I think from the K-12 point of view, I think we're starting to do a much better, you know, one of the things that we talked about naming this section or this episode was the whole idea of not just a community college. And I think from a K-12 point of view, we're starting to do a much better job because I think I think one of our mistakes, my point of view is one of our mistakes is we put so much of an emphasis on 4-year. You're going to college and that means a 4-year. We're really starting, especially with STEM, I think that's where I'm seeing it a lot, is it's not just about a 4-year, but a 2-year, maybe some technical programs and some of those kinds of things is how do we prepare our kids to go out and get a good job? Yeah. And I think that, you know, the community colleges are such a value to be able to start to do that.
Well, and about, you know, roughly 10 years ago, there was a paradigm shift where exactly what you're saying, where success after high school meant going to a 4-year college. Now, whether that was students' best fit or their best option, that's what you do.
Yeah.
And of course, once something is put in place, it's not until a couple years, if not years later, that we see the repercussions and was this or was this not a viable option that we chose. And the studies would suggest that we might have been in error in that. A recent NPR poll that I heard said that 70% of contractors nationwide report being in dire need of a workforce. So that, maybe shifting our definition of success, and not that it's a 4-year diploma, but that it's a viable job, that it's a good, living wage, and that it's something that, people enjoy. With that. And again, with the community colleges, you can go any of those avenues. You can explore something for a couple years, and then if that's best for you, go into the workforce. Or if you're like, well, maybe I do want to go on to the university, you have that option as well.
Absolutely. And again, I think that option piece is so important. So you guys do have a lot of options. I got to go through the
120 programs of study just at SCC.
Just at SCC. And I think one of the other things that always amazes me too, and I think community college, 2-year degrees, but you guys have some bachelor's degrees as well, right?
We do. Just recently this year, we have our Bachelor's of Respiratory Care.
Right.
And there's only 4 colleges or institutions within Washington State that offer that. We're the only one on the east side of the state. And so this is our first cohort model that's going through. And that's really exciting because within the greater Spokane area, the number one employer is the healthcare sector.
Yeah.
And our students, it was formerly a 2-year program, the respiratory care, have over 100% placement rating. Well, I'm not good at math, but let me explain how it could be over. We have more employers coming and hoping to recruit our students than we have graduates, so that we have a 100% placement rate.
That's amazing.
It is. And these are all programs that, people think, well, healthcare, nursing, I can be a nurse. Well, no, if you're interested in the healthcare sector, let me show you all the different options, even up to and including electronics. With so much of healthcare going digital, CAT scans, X-rays, someone's got to build those machines, and someone's got to monitor them. So even if you're interested in electronics, you have options in the healthcare sector as well.
Absolutely, and that's always also one of those things that amazes me. And you start to think about what are all the options just in a category of jobs, or a field, a career. It's not just because it's healthcare doesn't mean you have to be a nurse or a doctor.
Exactly.
There's so many other pieces that go along with it, and I think that fits with every profession. You start to put that out there, and I think that's a message that we truly need to get out to our kids as well. 120 programs, you've got some bachelor's degrees, right? And there's Running Start, there's a whole lot. What we're going to do is let's take a break. And I know that we could probably keep talking over and over about this, but let's take a little break, and then when we come back, let's talk about some of those programs, what you have for Running Start, and what some of those pieces look like. Okay. Sound good?
What those options are.
Wonderful. So we'll be right back after this quick break.
Last year alone, Avista customers saved over 53 million kilowatt hours of energy. Enough to power more than 4,000 homes for an entire year. Way to save, everyone. Way to save. Find your way to save at avistautilities.com.
See you tomorrow night, and thanks again for taking care of the painting.
I got this.
Bye.
Weekends are made for painting. Let the experts at Rada Paint take care of you.
Hi. This looks amazing.
Rada Paint, over 80 years of quality, tradition, and trust. Find it in every can.
To find the right home for you, you'll work with your realtor to compare the properties you're interested in, analyze the market, and figure out a reasonable offer price. And now, here you are, ready to make an offer. Yay, you! Here's how it works. First, you'll complete an offer sheet which your realtor will then present to the owner. Sometimes, a nice note to the owner can help your offer stand out. Butter them up. Tell them how much you love their garden, that it reminds you of gardening with your grandmother as a child. Do not mention you're gonna bulldoze it and put in a pool. The owner may accept the offer, reject it, or counter. It's important to be in close contact with your realtor during the negotiation process so any changes can be reviewed. Your realtor is like your consigliere, and that makes you the Don. Once your offer is finally accepted, there are usually some contingencies that must be met in order to keep the contract alive. Inspections are totally common in real estate transactions. They include termite checks, surveys to determine boundaries, appraisals to determine value for lenders, title reviews, and structural inspections. This stuff is mind-numbingly fascinating. But you know what's even more fascinating? Actually getting your new house.
And welcome back to Education 101. Again, I'm your host, Erik Wolfrum. And today we're talking Spokane Community College, not just another community college with Emily Gwynn and Abby Monta. So, before the break, we were talking a whole lot about some of the different offerings. And one of the things, Abby, I think you said was 120 different things that programs at the college level. Mm-hmm. And then Emily, you're talking Running Start, College in the Classroom. Let's talk about what some of those things look at. And let's start with that K-12, the Running Start piece.
Sure.
I mean, can they take any of those classes or work towards those programs? What does that look like for a kid that's thinking about it?
Yeah, and I like how Abby mentioned, too, as far as options and how options can give you power. And so I think for high school students, they've got a couple different choices when it comes to Running Start. Mm-hmm. So, for example, if students just want to, again, kind of get their feet wet and see how it feels to be a college student, they can take a couple courses with us, transition to a 4-year later on, and transfer those credits with them.
Yeah.
They can stay with us for 2 years and earn an associate's degree or a transfer degree. But then I also have students who are working on just getting rid of their high school requirements. They get those done really quickly through the Running Start process because our classes at the college actually count for a large number of credits at the high school. So for example, a 1 5-credit class at our college campus is going to count for a 1 credit turnover at the high school. Huh. So as students are kind of working on their high school requirements, once they get those finished, they're welcome to enter into our AAS or degree programs. Mm-hmm. So for example, I have a few students who have their high school requirements finished and they still have 2 quarters left of high school theoretically, and so here they are jumping right into a baking program. So I have a student within the baking program right now. I was just working with her today getting signed up for classes. I have a student in the paralegal program. So these are students that are then going to transition and stay on our campus, finish off those degrees. It might be an extra 2, 3, 4 quarters depending upon the program that they're in, but they're kind of getting that jump start into that program. So it's exciting. And then some of our nursing and our allied health professions, some of those courses need prerequisites. And so our students work on their high school requirements, they're working on their prerequisites, and then they're applying to get into, for example, another student I was working with today is interested in our pharmacy tech program, which is a three-quarter program to get their pharmacy tech certification. So he's working on his prerequisites this quarter, entering in the fall. He's going to graduate this year. So in the fall, he'll enter in the fall as a pharmacy tech student. So a really great way to kind of jumpstart into one of our programs as well.
And so, and again, these are high school students you're working with who are doing the Running Start, which is on campus. And it sounds like, there's that whole idea of making sure that they're following the prerequisites, if you will, or what's needed for high school, but they're still getting that opportunity to start to be thinking forward of what they want to do and taking the courses that are going to help them get there.
Yeah, and exactly, And the great thing is, tuition's covered, depending upon how many classes the student's taking at the high school. And so we do have some students that take maybe 1 class at the high school. If you take 1 class at your high school, you're still eligible to be a full-time 15-credit student at our college, and the tuition's covered. Really? So all you're left with really are student fees, paying for books, We do offer lots of support, though, for students on free and reduced lunch. So we try to make it an accessible option for students, no matter who they are, to get college credit, and to get college credit for a really great price.
That's very cool. So really, if a student is a full-time student running StartWise, tuition's covered.
Correct.
Based upon FTEs and all that from allocations. That's awesome.
It is. Yeah.
See, so even more of a value.
Yeah.
You know, that's a great deal definitely from the student and community college point of view. So the kids are working towards that. I know I got to go through. I think we toured the allied health piece, and you mentioned the respiratory care work, and I got to see some of that stuff. That was some of the coolest stuff. Yeah. I had such a great time.
It's so impressive.
I'm a science. My background is science, and so I loved going through there, the dummies and all those kinds of things that are so realistic. So what are some of those programs that you guys have?
Well, and first I have to say, I think our campus is the perfect example of don't judge a book by its cover. Because if you only drive on the Mission or Green Street, you might be like, oh, that's, not the most aesthetically pleasing. Well, if you don't understand that front tower we see there is part of our fire science, where they set that ablaze, and that's why it's not the most sightly thing, because it's going to go up in flames. And I always invite people, actually come into campus. And by and large, the response is, this is beautiful. I had no idea your campus was like this, because we have a horticulture program. Our campus goes all the way down to the Spokane River. So, if you can actually get into the campus and open that book, go beyond the cover, as you were saying, so impressed being in the allied health buildings. And
I know, and we just scratched the surface, because
I know we did.
You missed the greenhouse, you missed the culinary, and then building 28 out there with all of our tech programs.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, the welding and the HVAC program, and that's that building's incredible.
It's impressive. Yeah.
It is. Well, 120 programs, you start to think about that. And I'm glad that you mentioned the whole idea of don't judge a book by it, because I'm with you. I lived out in the valley, so drive by that area and you do kind of go, huh. But once you get out and you start walking through, whether it's we go to the plant sale every year, and so we get out there. I have been at Orlando's, which is,
our on-campus restaurant, our culinary arts program.
Absolutely, which is fabulous. And so, and even walking around, it is a great campus right in there.
It's beautiful.
So, yeah. So talk to me about some of the programs you guys want to highlight.
Yeah, and I think in higher ed, or really in education in general, we start taking for granted all the acronyms that we use. We use them so freely that whereas maybe someone watching is like, well, what is an AA, or what is an AAS? So for that, whenever you hear an associate's degree is a 2-year program. So whether that's an Associates of Arts or Associates of Science, that's a 2-year program. Those are also meant to be building blocks if a student wants to move on to the university. Applied Associates of Science, the applied means that it's 2 years, because it's associates, and then you go straight into the workforce. You immediately apply that program.
Okay.
So like our culinary arts, our baking program is a 1-year certificate. The culinary arts is a 2-year AAS. All right, so associates, it's 2-year, but because it's applied, that would be a student that wasn't necessarily looking to transfer onto the university, but to immediately apply the 2 years and go into the workforce. Yeah. And then DTA is another one. That's direct transfer agreement. So within Washington State, all the community colleges have an agreement with all of the public institutions, and about 90% of private institutions, that if a student gets their associate's degree, provided that they're accepted into that university, they go straight into their junior year, no questions asked.
Right.
Private universities can add a caveat, like Gonzaga, being a Jesuit, they also require a religious studies class.
Right.
But that DTA, direct transfer agreement, means a student goes straight into their junior year.
Which is wonderful.
Which is fantastic, and I always feel it, really important to mention to students that I went to the community colleges, and then I transferred and went to Eastern. my diploma's from Eastern.
Yep.
Right.
It never even shows that I went to the community college. So I say, all right, well, you went to NC for your freshman, sophomore year, transferred to Ferris for your junior, senior. Where's your high school diploma from? It's from Ferris.
Right.
It never even shows that you went to LC. And so, or NC, whatever.
Yeah.
We're with you.
That's right.
Again, all these acronyms, what does
I
that
know.
stand? And so, as we were chatting at break, on average, a student changes their major 3 different times.
Yeah.
So I was talking with one gal who was over from Seattle, and she said, she wanted to be a vet. That's what she wanted to do, absolutely. So she went to Wazoo, fantastic, veterinarian program, and her first 2 years took all her general ed requirements.
Yeah.
So English 101 at the community college counts just the same as English 101 at Whitworth towards that ultimate university degree. And it wasn't until her junior year that she really started getting into veterinary medicine. And she's like, I don't know why I didn't think of it. I just thought of like being able to cuddle puppies and kittens and realized that I couldn't do the hard work, euthanizing animals. And
that's right.
She goes, so now I'm at Wazoo and I changed my major, and they don't, either students they don't have that major at the university, or maybe it's not a best fit program, and now they transfer. As far as options, if you're at the community college, you can change your major because you're still taking all those general ed requirements, and then transfer onto your best fit university. And within Washington State, with that DTA, I mean,
you can really switch it out.
You absolutely.
Luckily when I was going through college, my parents understood that kind of piece as well. They were both teachers, and that's that piece where I started at Shoreline Community College. Yeah. Did my undergrad stuff there, and then transferred to Eastern as well. Same kind of thing, and it's that it does give you that time to get those. Again, it's a value that goes along with it, and it gave me some time to think and kind of figure out, what do I want to do? Because I had something in mind, but then you change so many times.
Sure.
And to be able to be somewhere that has 120 options, and again, there's a lot. SCC versus Spokane Falls Community College, it sounds like perception.
Yeah.
Perception is that SCC has more of the, I would call it vocational, where Spokane Falls Community College, SFCC, has more of that piece of get your undergrad and move on to a 4-year, if you will.
Sure.
It sounds like you guys have a lot of those as well.
Yeah.
And so again, that public perception might not be exactly what we think.
Yeah, and SFCC also has programs. We might have a few more, but we also offer the AADTA, so the students working on that associate's degree to transfer, we offer that just the same as SFCC. And so we do work really well together as campuses, even regarding Running Start, for example. For students that are on our campus, and if there's a course that they need that maybe they weren't able to grab this quarter, but they want to grab it at SFCC, we work really well together within, as far as under the umbrella, like you're saying, under the house of our community colleges of Spokane. So if there's things that we don't provide or offer, we can pick it up there at SFCC. But really, we're both, campuses where students can really do whatever they want to do.
Right.
There's options on both of our campuses for both programs and associate's degrees to transfer.
So as far as general undergraduate requirements, so those associate's degrees looking to ultimately transfer, you can do that at either college. Then when you get more program specific, like Spokane Falls has the arts and photography, SCC has more the technical or allied health. So for generalized things, students can go to either. It's when you get more into the specific programs that you're going to find which one is your best option.
Absolutely. SCC has some great programs, no doubt about it. I would assume if a teacher or somebody who's listening wants to find out more, YouTube might be the first step. Is that right?
Absolutely.
Abby, how do they get a hold of you?
They can either give me a phone call. So, of course, area code 509-533-8227. Also, email. Is that too long to give on air, or
might be? Is it pretty easy to find on the website?
It is.
What's the website? If you could think
I
about it.
I always tell students just
Google
SCC, and we're the first one that comes up instead of trying to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Emily, how about you?
Yeah, just
Same
give me a
thing?
call. Same thing. I'm easy to find.
Cool.
You can look under Running Start, 533-8154.
Yes.
Otherwise, the Running Start page, you can access it either just through our main CCS website, but just if you Google SCC Running Start, you should be able to find me pretty easily. So, yeah, we love to show people around. Like she said, get you guys onto campus, look at the inside of our beautiful space.
It's a great tour because it's not just your typical community college.
Yeah.
So exactly what we talked about. Thank you guys so much for being on the show today.
Thank you.
I know we could probably do a few other shows, but maybe we'll have you back to talk about some other things. So thanks again. Thanks everybody for watching and listening in today, and we'll catch you on the next time that we're on Education 101. Thanks.
Thank you.
Education 101 is produced in Spokane, Washington by SpokaneTalksOnline.com, which is solely responsible for its content. Education 101 is brought to you by our friends at STCU. Ask Erik a question, recommend a guest, and hear this program again online anytime at SpokaneTalksOnline.com.